Okay, the fluids have been checked.
Yes, they have.
We're in the car.
After 9
Got
months.
the keys in the ignition.
After 9
Time
months.
to fire this podcast up.
Yes, after 9 months, it's great to be back. Scott Gresser here for the Mopar Podcast. So grateful to have you here with me. It's been a long 9 months since I did my last episode. So grateful to have you here with us. And yes, the Cordova fires up just fine. One thing I got to tell you, though, on that car, the fuel pump check valve is going bad, so it loses its prime. And therefore, I have to crank it a little bit more to get it fired up. But she's been running fine. I have driven it a couple times this summer. With the gas prices the way they are right now in 2026, I don't take it to as many places as I have. Ethanol-free gas went up as well as the rest of the gasoline, so I've been sort of been on hold with that. But it's still running good. Grateful to have you here with us. Again, I'm Scott Gresser, your host, Mopar since 1960. Thank you for joining me. My email address is waltparpodcast. That's WALTPAR podcast at AOL.com. You can find me on most social media. Search Waltpar Podcast. And on YouTube and Rumble, please search Waltpar. Well, like I said, it's been 9 months since I did my last episode, and it's great to be back. I do this in my spare time, and so things happen. Had a lot of things going on. Had a lot of dental work done. Had a tooth fall out, and it gave me a lisp in my speech. I didn't want to talk like this all the time, so I wanted to make sure that was cleared up with my dental work done. So, and when I talk with a lisp, trying to talk clearly, what happened was I would talk with a lisp and try to speak clearly, and then I would lose my place where I was talking. I can't do that while I'm on the air here. So I had some bridge work done. I'm good to go there. I became a Catholic, so that was really grateful in my life. So glad for that. And, of course, we had the holidays that my wife and I went through. And then we also stayed inside from a very rainy spring we had in Ohio. So here it is, July the 5th, 2026. And it was since October 19th since I did my last episode. And if you think that's long enough, the interview we have today will be over a year old since I did this. I did the interview during the 2025 National DeSoto Convention, which was held in Akron, Ohio. So my apologies for not getting that out sooner. David, it's coming. What would you say if I told you there were people in their youth that loved DeSotos? DeSotos have not been around since 1961. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there asking, are these kids crazy? With all the Roadrunners, Chargers, Vipers, Neon SRT4s, all these other cool performance cars we've had, modern and classic Chargers and the like, why a DeSoto? In this episode, I've been wanting to address getting the youth interested in the car hobby. Now, how do we go about it? What can we do? As you know, I'm an old guy. I've seen a few things out there that a lot of you have not. One of them is arrogance, not just in the car hobby, but in a lot of other things too. As I was growing up in the mid to late 60s and graduating in that magical car year 1972, there were a good share of people out there who stood out in a crowd. And when they did, it was nationally and locally, not just in cars, but politics, religion, pop culture, and more. And as time went by, some had passed away, others faded. And now we ask, what was really so great about all these people? And that still holds true today for people my age. Like I said, I'm 72, who hold on to their classic muscle cars as if nothing ever exciting was made before or after them. We know that's not true. There's a lot of great cars out there. Some examples come to mind. The first thing, I think I told you this, with how people are acting. In the middle 1990s, the Mopar Club I used to belong to was putting on their annual show. The show classes were pretty much made up. Everything built before A, B, C, and E bodies of the 1960s and 70s was grouped in one class, and everything built afterward was pretty much put in another class. Yeah, there's a few more in there, like they separated the trucks, SUVs, and vans and like that. But that was pretty much it. They concentrated on making sure the A, B, C, and E bodies were covered, Dodge and Plymouth in their own separate classes. There was a lot of those to begin with, don't get me wrong. But still, there's a lot more to Mopar or any car brand than just the classic muscle cars of the 60s and 70s. One year, when the winners of the show were announced, a Dodge Stealth was announced the winner of the front-wheel drive class. Obviously, the judging chairman that year didn't do his homework when putting together the judging classes. If it didn't have a slant 6 or a bigger small block V8 from back then, or was a later year car, it must be a front-wheel drive car. First off, a Dodge Stealth is not even a front-wheel drive car, and it was built by Mitsubishi Motors Corporation, still sold through the Dodge dealers, still considered a Mopar, in my opinion, in the car shows because it was sold by Dodge dealer, and it was the time when they needed a subcompact and started off with that in 1971. But that car should have been put in a different judging class. And that year, that Stealth won, a gentleman who owned a Dodge Shadow Shelby CSX was not a happy camper. And I don't blame him. I would have been very ticked too because that was an actual Mopar. Or actually, it was a Mopar. But that was one that was a true front-wheel drive car. Now, the second one was when members of the same car club I used to belong to, they went to the Mopar Dust-Off in 2019 when it was held in Mansfield, Ohio. A member who was with us was complimenting about the modern cars, how the new colors popped out at her. But then right afterwards, she said, and not arrogantly, but she said, but if they could afford it, they would rather have our classic muscle cars than the modern ones. And as I was looking at the other club members, they looked like they felt out of place. After all, a lot of the lot was filled with modern Mopar muscle, and we were the only ones that brought the classic muscle because I was the one that told them about this event. They never knew what was going on because they don't look at social media or anything to that effect. I told them about it. I said we should go and represent the club. So they went to the show, and they were not king of the show. They didn't know how to act because they weren't the stars and whatever, because it was all the modern people there, and they were all having fun. And the fellow members of that club back then were just like looking around to an extent. It's like, what do we do? He goes, well, you do what I did. I said hello to people I knew from the modern circles so far. It wasn't that many people I knew like I know now, but still, I said hello to them. I asked about their cars. I see what was out there, and I said hello. And they were just like lost to an extent. We can't have that anymore. We have to be open to everything. Now, the third and final example occurred when someone I know who is very well known nationally in the modern Mopar circles was told by someone who runs one of the major national Mopar shows, "We don't care for your cars. We don't need you here. They will never be as popular as the classic muscle Mopar cars." And it makes me wonder if these people really care about keeping the car hobby alive. If they're just there for their own glory and that's it, because they're there and they have this fantastic car, and there's a ton of fantastic cars out there, ladies and gentlemen. Back in the day, it was a car lover's dream to own a car I wanted when I was in high school. Why can't that be true for today's youth? Now, I want to bring on another angle here, because there's people out there, like I said before, who think, I have this cool car. Why wouldn't anyone else want it? Or kids or whatever. Here's another way of looking at it. Let's take a look at a 1970 Dodge Charger. Pick any trim you want. Charger, Charger 500, Charger SE, Charger RT SE, Charger RT. This year, the car is 56 years old. Now, let's go back 56 years before, back to 1914, which, by the way, was the first year the Dodge brothers built their first vehicle. Not too much excitement there, but they were there. And what else did we have to choose from? Give you a little history lesson. NASCAR wasn't formed until 1949. The NHRA is celebrating its 75th anniversary this year. For the V8 lovers out there, Buick, Chevrolet, Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, and DeSoto didn't even offer a V8 until the 1950s. Plymouth and Chevrolet were the last to bring one out in the 1955 model year. By the way, the first year for the Chrysler V8 was in a Chrysler product. It was a Hemi head engine, and it was made in 1951. It was introduced in the 1951 model year. So that the V8 in a Chrysler compared to that 1970 Charger, any V8 has not even been out for 20 years yet. And at that time, as time went on, more research was trying to find more ways to get more power. Now, the first model year that was specifically made for performance was the 1955 Chrysler C300, or some might say 300B. Its letter car series carried through as the only performance model until 1964, when Pontiac brought out the Gran Turismo Omologato. That's right, the GTO, or as what some people used to nickname back then, it always burned a lot of gas, tires, and oil. Now, this didn't mean other makes were idle between 1955 and 1964. They all had high-performance engines, and on top of the Corvette and the Ford Thunderbird, the engines were options for their standard model lineups. Now, I bring this up to let you know what car choices were like when the 1970 Charger was new, and outside of mechanically inclined people who had a garage and built street rods, what choices for fun driving were available for people back then. Unfortunately, for a lot of people back then, as time went by, their love of cars stayed stuck to way back when. And nowadays, these same people think this is what the youth wants because they did. Remember, our parents didn't tell us what to like for cars, and they didn't back then. So we shouldn't be telling the youth of America what they like. We need to let them decide what they like, even if it's a brand we're not fond of. I saw a title for an article on Haggerty.com, and it basically says this: if you want to get youth interested in cars, find cars they might like and see and take it from there. Just don't push off what you have. If they might be interested in a car, find out what they like, and then find it for them, and then try to see if they like it better. Now, classic and even more current cars of interest, they are expensive. And even restoring one is just as expensive, if not more, than finding a vehicle. I remember back in the street rod days, the two-door coupes were the ones everyone wanted in the beginning. Now, of course, these cars were way old. I was born in 1953. We're talking cars built in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, pre-World War II. When they couldn't find those two-door coupes anymore, they went for the two-door sedans. More like the coupe had went down in the back, behind the back seat, and then went down. Sedans, basically the roof stayed till pretty much all the way to the back of the car. That was a sedan, considered back then. Then when they were all snatched up to fix up and have fun with, they went with the four-doors. I have a suggestion. Maybe we should start thinking of having fun with the four-door cars ourselves. The ones especially from the 1950s through the 1970s. Take a look at those cars. A lot of them have the same dashboard and hood to look out as you're driving down the road, just like the two-doors. Last I checked, the engine bays or compartments are the same size. You can put whatever engine you want in it, just like the two-doors do. This could be a cheap alternative to get kids interested in cars and get the bug in them to have some fun. I've seen some nice examples of some four-doors. Certain four-doors also have the same roof line as a two-door, like a 62 Dodge Dart does. But there's some nice-looking four-doors out there, and like I said, when you're driving down the road, you don't even know you're in a four-door because you're looking out that same hood, looking at that same dashboard, grabbing that same steering wheel with the same fast engine you could put in a two-door. So maybe that might be a way to start. That's just one of my suggestions. Now, you have to remember, this is 2026. And as 4- and 6-cylinder engines were coming on the scene due to fuel mileage restrictions and higher gas prices, Performance preferences also started to change. Like I said, it's 2026. Look what the kids are putting in front of them today. Look what they're looking at. Look what they're seeing. And there's a lot more out there than just V8s that people can have fun with. Yes, I know there are some people out there who just can't understand when they hear those four-cylinder and all this other stuff. But kids are having fun with their cars when they're doing that. Please do not forget that. And remember, in a lot of cases, a 4-cylinder or a 6-cylinder engine can go pretty fast in a car. And you know, there's a gentleman who has a 1989 Plymouth Voyager minivan. It came with a 2.25 turbo, and he did some engine work in it. That thing goes down the track doing the 12s. And that's not exactly a nice cut through the air when it's such a box. So there's all kinds of different things that people could do with cars. You know, there's computers as well that they could do some tuning with. I remember a gentleman I know, his son, he had originally a Little Red Express, and he was in his teens or 20s. He got rid of that, bought himself a Ford Thunderbird Super Coupe because he could work more with computers with it and fine-tune it to get that 3.8 liter V6 that had a supercharger on it and have fun with it. Because all he could do is work with the carburetor before. This gives him more fun to have with computers as more kids learn how to do that today. Now, the National DeSoto Convention was held June 16th through the 21st, 2026 in Louisville, Kentucky. At last year's convention held in Akron, Ohio, I had the pleasure and honor to meet Christina, David, and Carl, 3 people in their 20s and 30s who love DeSotos. You will find out why they chose DeSotos and be even more glad they chose to be part of the car hobby. So sit back for 25 minutes and enjoy this conversation that I had with them. And this, again, was held in Akron, Ohio, last year at last year's National DeSoto Convention. I'm here for the second part of this podcast at Hardesty Park in Akron, Ohio, for the National DeSoto Convention, which is being held this year in Akron, Ohio, about 35 miles from my house. And I'm very proud to have here with us Christina Park, David Frank, and Carl Natitis. Thank you, sir. They are youth people. How old are all the 3 of you?
I'm 24. I'll be 25 next month.
Okay.
33.
Okay.
25.
All right. Very youthful people. So, before we get into the DeSotos, what got each of you interested in cars?
So, I caught the car bug somehow. No one in my family has any interesting, cool collector, classic sports cars, muscle cars, you name it. I come from a family that you've got your 4-door sedan and you've got your pickup truck, and that's all you need. So somehow I caught that car bug, but it was from a very young age. My mom always fondly tells stories of us going to the library and we check out the same, 7 or 8 books, and they're all the car books, and I would just flip through and look at the pictures and just study every little detail. And so that's how my car knowledge was sparked. And so then it evolved into what specific era of car rather than just a brand. It was an era of car, so I wasn't even a Ford guy, Mopar guy, any of that. It was, I liked the generally the late 30s to early 50s cars. So basically anything after 1965 doesn't really interest me, but it's especially the older stuff that I like. So
okay, why is that?
I like the styling of them. I think especially with the late 30s to early 50s, that is just a great balance of they're drivable enough that it's not just like a parade car. You can drive them on modern roads. They're comfortable cars, but everything is nicely weighted, so you have manual steering, manual brakes, and so I like both the styling of them as well as the engineering behind them, and I just think it's a good balance.
Okay, now before I go over to David, where are you from?
I am from northeastern Pennsylvania, specifically from Mountaintop,
okay, PA. Very good, because this is a national convention we're at here, ladies and gentlemen. David, where are you from, and what got you interested in it?
So I'm from East Troy, Wisconsin, which is not too far from Milwaukee. And I grew up in a Mopar family, I go back multiple generations with almost exclusively Mopars owned. My great-grandpa owned DeSotos that he would drive when he was new, and then later Chryslers when they switched over, and my grandpa and my dad as well. And between them and two uncles that are also into the old cars, by the time I came around and I was born, there was really no avoiding it because we had, a bunch of old Mopars by that point already in the family. So I grew up going to car shows and hanging around the cars and helping fix them and park cars out and stuff like that.
Okay. I know your story, but the world needs to know.
My name's Christina. I am from Tiffin, Ohio, which is in northwest Ohio. And I, similar to David, have come from a Mopar family. Multiple generations of my family have been into classic cars, and I grew up around them. Specifically, my family's business, my dad started his business when he was very young, and it is all Mopar parts and cars. So I grew up with that and obviously had the car bug from a very young age. I think specifically for me, my favorite era is the 50s, and I knew that pretty early on. I loved the fins, I loved the chrome, and the colors and styling of that era I thought were just peak styling. So that's what drew me to finned cars and specifically now DeSotos.
Okay. Now, let's give your old man a plug.
Sure, yeah. His name is Murray Park, and that's also his business name. He specializes in the big full-size Mopars like C-bodies, but he has a little bit of everything from the late 40s to the early 80s.
Yes, and I bought a rear bumper for him, and I'm going to be getting a reinforcement for the Cordoba. So
Awesome.
And there's a website.
Yeah, his website is cbodies.com.
There you go, cbodies.com.
Yep.
There you go. Okay, now we'll go back to Carl here. Why DeSotos? I think we may have answered this already.
Yeah, so
Over the other makes.
So when I was searching for my first project car, I didn't have any maker model in mind. Kind of going back to that late 30s, early 50s era that I liked. That's what I was looking for. I was just looking for something that caught my eye. So when I was in the market for my first project car, I headed online and I was looking around, and there was a 1948 DeSoto Custom Club Coupe that caught my eye, and that's how I found DeSotos. But I do want to say one thing.
Yes, sir.
I do have an original owner's manual from a 1950 DeSoto that my great-grandfather owned. Now,
Ooh,
he
cool.
owned it in the period, so it's not like that was his collector car. But he owned it back when it was new, and I do have that piece of memorabilia. So when I did see the name DeSoto, I knew what it was, because of the many books that I paged through when I was young, that was one of the many manuals that I read, and I read especially about the tip-toe shift transmission.
There you go. How about you, David? What got you into DeSotos?
Well, as I already alluded to, my family has had a bunch of old Mopars and currently does. My great-grandpa and my great-great-uncle drove DeSotos back when they were new, and with my great-grandpa specifically, when he went to trade in for a new one, usually my grandpa ended up buying his used one instead of a trade-in. And my grandpa owned several of those, as well as a couple. So he owned a 49 and a 53 that my great-grandpa had bought new. The 53 against his advice, because the car did not run good, which was an anomaly. The 53s with those Hemis normally are good running cars. But he also owned a couple 56s that he really enjoyed. And then in 1961, he bought a 15-month-old 1960 DeSoto with 15,000 miles on it. And that car was supposed to have been a second car, and it never really got used as a second car. So my grandfather, who is 93 years old, still owns that car today, and it's got 43,000 miles on it, all original with the plastic seat covers and everything. And I'd say that car kind of started it as far as the collecting. And from there, they bought another 56 in 1976 that they bought and drove home from Arizona. In 1980, my dad bought it from them as his first collector car at the age of 14, and he still owns that car today. And from there, my dad's bought more DeSotos, as well as a couple other non-DeSoto Mopars. My one uncle has a few DeSotos and a couple other Mopars. My other uncle, who does not have DeSotos, he still has some Chrysler 300 letter cars that don't stray too far away from the Finn DeSotos that we have.
Cool.
And so that by the time I was born, we already had several of them in the family and have grown from there. So that's how DeSoto specifically I got into, and I've been involved with the club for a long time, and it just kind of keeps feeding that.
There you go. Now, Christina, you've had Chryslers, Plymouth, Dodges, Dodge trucks, DeSotos all your life. Why DeSoto?
That's a good question. I would say for most of my childhood, I was pretty open to all of them, and I still am. I appreciate all cars, not just Mopars even. I can extend further out and appreciate other cars and makes. But I stumbled upon a 58 DeSoto back when I was just around getting my driver's license age. And my dad showed it to me. It was going to be at an estate sale that we were going to for other things, and I said, I'm going to come along. I really love that car. And it was just something about that specific car, the blue and white paint, the fins, the chrome. I just really got hooked, and from there, it just keeps going.
Okay, now, general question for everyone here. A lot of times when people buy classic cars, and I'm included in that, you normally buy a car that you loved when you were in high school. A brand new car that was in high school would catch your eye, or in college. So between the ages of 18 and 25, those are the cars you couldn't afford yet, but yet you wanted to have one. This is not the case anymore. You know, if somebody graduated from high school in 1961, the last year of the DeSoto, that would be, they'd be in their 80s. And that is at a time when you start cutting back because you got to save your money, doctor bills, everything else. What have you seen other people your age get into the old cars or not? I saw a couple with a 50s or two people had 50s cars from the Fords. Have you been noticing, or have other people been noticing? Have you talked with other people around the country about youth with the old cars or anything? We'll start with you, Carl.
I can't speak to this too much. I don't go to too many car shows. The DeSoto Club is my biggest interest and the main club that I am a part of.
Okay.
I do know that there are some younger guys that are into even earlier cars than DeSoto, some like brass era cars and like some 19-teens and 1920s cars.
All right.
But yeah, I can't speak too much to that, but I've found some young companions, I guess, and young friends here in the DeSoto Club. So,
have they shown an interest when they saw your cars? Anyone around your age?
Well, I've never shown either one of my DeSotos. They're both still a project. I was really hoping to get my 41 here, but
we understand.
Yeah,
a lot of us are like that. How about you, David?
Yeah, I've noticed some other younger people that are into the cars and in the era we're in, which is 50s or 40s or 30s, as these DeSotos cover, and whether it's DeSoto specifically or you're talking other Mopars or the GMs or the Fords, they are out there. They're maybe not as plentiful as some of the older generation, but there are young people out there that are into these cars. Some of those, like Carl said, you've met through the club. The two people at the table here I've met because of the DeSoto Club, and there's also other people that you meet through online forums and Facebook, and going to car shows. Sometimes you do meet people, and it's really kind of a good way to meet people just by using a blend of the tools available, whether it's through the actual club or online resources. You kind of use everything available, and they're out there and you connect. I think part of what you see though too is with a lot of the younger people, they don't always want to go to car shows where they're going to sit on the hot asphalt and compete for a $20 piece of plastic at the end of it, because either they don't care or they just want to be out cruising, or their car's not nice enough to win anyways. So what I've noticed is you actually see more younger people at swap meets, it seems, than at car shows, walking around hunting for parts.
Okay, how about you, Christina?
Well, I would agree with most everything that's been said so far. I definitely wish I saw more young people in the hobby, but they're out there. Sometimes you just got to be looking for them. I take every chance I get when I take my car out to a show. If there's a younger kid looking at it, I offer them to sit inside or look inside or, get involved, touch the car, things like that. that maybe they wouldn't otherwise get involved, and maybe that sparks their interest. Maybe someday, like Carl, they'll remember a DeSoto and they'll want to get one of their own.
I'm that way with my Cordova. I'm letting more people sit in it than I used to. I don't want them to touch the paint. I'm getting tired of the fingerprints. But other than that, I want them to grab that steering wheel, look at that dashboard, look out along that long hood, and just see that, and hopefully that sparks their interest to do something. No matter the age, it could be even wee little kids. That can still spark it, because my first experience with, which is why I love Mopar since I was 6 years old, clear back in 1960, was when my dad showed me how he checks the oil in his 1960 Dodge Seneca, first year of the Slant 6. So that had me hooked since, and I became an enthusiast when I went to my first Mopar Nationals clear back in 1984. So price-wise, how are these cars? Are they affordable for the youth?
I would say so. Yeah, both of my project cars were under $10,000. So one a bit closer to $10,000, but the 48 Custom Club Coupe, I bought it in 2020. So I guess if you want a time frame here specifically, it was in 2020.
Yeah, that's true. Those things have jacked way up. Yes.
And it was $4,500 for the car, including lots of spare parts, like a brand new reproduction gas tank, almost an entire brake overhaul kit, everything except for the hard lines. So soft lines, wheel cylinders, master cylinder, shoes. So,
and
they're not terribly expensive.
And how about with you, David? Have things been like to purchase the car? First of all, I better ask, what kind of shape were your cars in, Carl?
Well, the 48 DeSoto, I've owned it for 5 years. It is still very much so a work in progress. It needs a full restoration. It needs everything. Now, the bones about it are solid, so definitely that $4,500. It bought me a decent car. It bought me something that wasn't just like a total pile of rust.
Okay.
But definitely needs a lot of attention.
Okay, and how about you, Brian? Have they been cheap for you, or affordable, I should say?
Yes and no. You can find a good, solid car out there. If you're looking for something that's affordable for a younger person, you can find those. They may not be a convertible, they may not be a high-performance version, but if you bide your time and you watch, you can find a nice, solid, sometimes even a two-door hardtop, but a four-door sedan or four-door hardtop. You can still get one that is in the Find era if you want, or something that in the later era, if you had like a big block or something in it, you might start having to look at other things like, a C body instead of a B body, or an E body or an A body or something.
Yes.
But they're out there. If you're willing to put in a lot of time and work, obviously you can get something even cheaper than realizing you're going to put money into it after the fact. But sometimes as a younger person, it's easier to spend a smaller amount up front and then trickle money into it instead of saving for that larger car or more expensive car.
So, and how about you? Has been affordable for you? Well, obviously it could be for you since your dad's in the parts business as far as finding stuff, but when he finds things, is it affordable for others? Let's put it that way. You're in a different situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I am definitely lucky in that aspect to have that kind of resource at my fingertips. But I would say the biggest thing, it can be affordable, as David was saying, if you're willing to put in a little bit extra work, or maybe not have the most perfect car on the show field. They're definitely out there, and you can still be very proud of those cars. I think one of the things that has been really helpful for me and my family is to be involved in some of these car groups and go to the car shows and have the contacts that you can get from those clubs and groups, because then you might be able to find that guy that has that part you've been looking for, and if you know him well enough, maybe he'll give you a deal on it that he wouldn't do to someone who's a total stranger. So
that happened too, yes.
Networking is huge in this hobby, that's for sure.
That's for sure. So,
I can add,
yes, go ahead,
I can
Carl.
add one
Yes,
thing to
sir.
that. Christina's father, Murray, has helped me out a great deal with finding parts for my DeSoto. So I'm a stickler for original and trying to rebuild with new old stock parts whenever possible, rather than the aftermarket reproduction. I went to Murray Park after meeting him at the 2024 Hershey AACA fall swap meet.
And that's for Antique Automobile Club of America. Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
We got to talking at the fall swap meet, and he said, "Oh, I've got boxes, those rebuild kits still in the new old stock boxes. I've got the Miller tools that I walked 30 miles in total. I walked 30 miles. The entire Hershey fall swap meet did not find a single Miller tool. And I listed Miller tools I was looking for, and I showed that list of tools to Murray, and he said, I think I've got these. I've got a whole bunch. And so we scheduled a time, and I went over and I checked out the collection of Miller tools he had and the parts, and I've got lots of parts that otherwise would have taken me quite a bit longer to find, probably quite a bit more expensive to buy them individually, so that definitely, the connecting and networking with people is a huge benefit.
So, you're in Northeast Pennsylvania. How far are you from Carlisle?
Probably about 2 hours.
Jeez, so close. We're like 6 or 7 hours away. You got another huge resource coming up.
Yeah,
in a couple weeks.
Yep,
so.
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be my first time at Carlisle.
There you go. I have not been able to go yet. I've always had other things to do, so I wasn't able to go. That is a question I was going to ask. Parts availability. You said what you were finding. How about you, David? Parts availability.
Mechanical stuff is usually pretty available for most of these cars. If you get into like the Hemis or some of the older engines, you might have to go through some specialty parts vendors, but generally a lot of the things you're going to need, like fuel pumps or stuff like that, are either available or there's rebuild companies to do so. Once you start talking trim and lenses and body panels and things like that, there's very little aftermarket or very little that's worth anything. And those you end up having to find either good parts cars or parts stashes or things like that. And that's where, as Carl said, having networking, you can't just go jump on Facebook always and say, hey, who's got this rare thing I need in like mint condition? Some people either aren't willing to part with it at all, or they're not going to just do it for somebody who just posted. But if you get to know these people, and it doesn't have to be this club, it's any club or car show, you get to know somebody, develop a relationship over years, and you talk to them, and they got something that maybe they've kept as a spare for their car, but they know that you genuinely need it. It's not for a car you're flipping or anything like that, and it's a part you need either to finish it, or you're at a convention and your car breaks down and they got it in their trunk, and people are very willing to help. It's kind of like having a big family.
There you go, absolutely. So, same here, Christina. Parts available. I know you have your sources, but how are his sources? Have they been pretty good?
Yeah, I would say so. I think, unfortunately, in some ways, he has almost too much than he can handle. With a lot of the people in this hobby are getting older. And people are liquidating. Either their family is doing so after they pass, or they are just getting older themselves and want to, get rid of their collection of parts that they've been keeping. So he gets a lot of that, and he, it's good in some ways for some of us who are looking for those things, but it's also unfortunate that has to be the reason behind that
Absolutely.
Kind of thing.
So I know you. 3 of you have things you got to do to get back to the convention with. One final word, what piece of advice do you give the young folks to encourage them as well to get started in this? What do you think there, Carl?
That's a tough one. Find an era of car that you like, and then go to car shows that are maybe like focused around that. So like maybe national meets like the DeSoto Club meet. Try to find whatever club that it is, and then see if there's like maybe a local chapter or region, whatever that club calls it, and go to that specific show and try to get more involved with that and talk with people that own those cars.
Social media has been huge and has been a big help through the years. We know that. David.
Yeah, and just going off of that, a lot of younger people I found, really like to lean on the internet, and that is a great resource. I'm on different forums and groups and things, and I've met people that way, and I've gotten things and learned things that way, but it really takes a blend of resources. You still can't overlook the personal relationships and the recommendations you get from people going to actual events and being in a club. I've met so many people through this club that I've gotten to know so well that I've stayed at homes of people before while I'm traveling, and it's really like a family. And if they don't have something that can help me, they maybe know somebody else that does, or we can recommend someone. It really helps develop relationships. So having kind of a blend of the old-fashioned newsletters and clubs and things like that mixed with the technology is a good balance to have.
And how about you, Christina?
Well, I definitely agree with what's been said already. I would add to that, for any young people listening, don't get discouraged. Sometimes this car hobby can seem daunting, and if you can't find a car that you want, you can't find one in your price range, you can't find the parts that you need, or you take your car to a car show and someone makes a comment that you don't like, those are all things that happen to all of us.
Yes, they do.
And I just want to let you know to not get discouraged, because those things happen and we shouldn't let it bother us, because there are a lot of us out there who are not that way, and we have a lot of support in this community. So yeah, just keep going with it and doing what you're doing, and that's great.
Yes.
And just to leverage off that, what she was saying about not letting comments bother you, if you are a younger person, there's a good chance your car's not going to be perfect. Somebody inevitably is going to come by and make a rude or snide comment about a paint, interior, something on it that they don't like. I think a lot of people have forgotten that when they started out with their cars, half a century ago, maybe for some of them, that there's a good chance they had a car that wasn't that nice. Maybe they were the one driving around with a 69 Roadrunner that had 5 different paints on it, doing burnouts and going to parties with their friends and stuff like that, and it wasn't the Trailer Queen car they're showing up to the to the car show with.
Trailer Queens when they were new.
So enjoy your car in your own way. Don't let the people who say something bad about your car bother you. It's not their car. If you enjoy it, that's all that matters. And if you're looking to get into this hobby fresh, don't let an old car be a daunting prospect. Make your connections, get into groups, do some research and start talking to people. Carl here is a prime example, as he's mentioned, about nobody in his background having ever done car stuff before, and yet here he is 4 years or so after he bought his first car, fully immersed in this, and he's rebuilding things himself and doing research and learning, and he's now passing his knowledge even on to other people. So it's never there's never too little base knowledge to go get an old car.
Yes, and when it comes to these old cars, yes, the number of vehicles out there is limited, but I look at it this way. Street rods started out with the 2-door coupes. Then when they ran out, they went with 2-door sedans, and they went with 4 doors. Remember, with a 4-door, the only time you know it is when you're outside looking at it. When you're inside driving it, it has the same hood, it has the same dashboard as the fancy 2 doors, and it has the same engine area. You can put in whatever you want to go fast if you want. So keep that in mind too. So Christina, David, Carl, thank you all so much. I appreciate you joining me here on the Mopar podcast.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And anybody listening, if you're interested in the National DeSoto Club, we
Yes.
have a website, desoto.org. There's details and applications there if you'd like to join. We also have a free Facebook group as well. That's the National DeSoto Club, Inc. And try and connect with us.
That's right. Thank you so much. And don't forget, cbodies.com. That's right. Okay. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank them all so much for being here on the Mopar podcast. Like I said, that was done over a year ago at Hardesty Park in Akron, Ohio, at the National DeSoto Convention, the 2025 edition that was held in Akron. It was great talking with Christina, Carl, and David so much. Well, I hope that gives you a little bit of insight into the youth of America and getting them interested in the cars. Again, Haggerty Magazine had an article that says, if you want to get the kids interested in cars, one good suggestion, I gave you one, but maybe another is just see what they like and then go find that car and learn more about it and see if they want to keep going with it. We have to keep the youth going in this movement. Now, it's time for the Mopar calendar, which I haven't done for a while. So this will be from about July 8th on. So I'm doing this now on July 6th, so I think July 7th on we'll do it about then. Now, if you do have an all Mopar event, be it a show, swap meet, etc., please let me know. You can email me either your flyer or just write out the details. No forms to fill out or anything else. Email to me at waltparpodcast@aol.com or message me on my social media. Search Waltpar Podcast. And please, before going to an event you're wanting to go to, please make sure you contact the event to make sure the show is still going on. That was a nightmare during COVID. Trust me. Tell me about it. Again, thank you so much for joining me. And thanks to Christina, David, and Carl and the National DeSoto Club for their contributions and their hospitality with episode number 21 of the Waltpar Podcast. Remember, you can join me as well on most social media. Search Waltpar Podcast. Please tell your fellow Mopar fans, lovers, enthusiasts about the Waltpar Podcast. I certainly would appreciate it very much. And please, if you can, subscribe wherever you listen and give me a top rating. Any questions, comments, or concerns or suggestions, you can email me at Waltpar Podcast. That's WALTPAR Podcast @AOL.com. Or you can snail mail me at P.O. Box 455, Apple Creek, Ohio. That's 2 words, Apple Creek, Ohio 44606. And please, before I go, whenever you go to a car show or a cruise-in, find a Mopar that is totally different than yours and say hello to them. It means so much. We've been so fractured through the years. We needed to unite, and that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. I hope we can get that done. Thank you so much for the show portion. The event calendar is coming up next. Thank you for listening. I hope you'll join me next time here on another episode of the Waltpar Podcast. And as Mike Bonadonna of the Citrus County, Florida, USA Mopar Club says, keep those highways beautiful, drive your Mopars, uniting all generations and types of Mopar fans, lovers, and enthusiasts everywhere, from Walter P. Chrysler to today's Mopar and beyond. This has been the Waltpar Podcast. Take care, everyone. The Waltpar Podcast is a production of Auto Catawba, LLC. Now, let's say we go through the calendar here. I did this a little bit different. This time around, I'm doing the national events first, rather than putting them with their proper state. First one up, July 10th through the 12th, is the big one, the Chrysler Carlisle Nationals, Carlisle Fairgrounds, Carlisle, Pennsylvania. CarlisleEvents.com. That's CarlisLE events.com. July 31st through August 2nd is the 45th annual Mopar Nationals at Durana Raceway, Hebron, which was formerly known as National Trail Raceway, moparnats.org. September 18th and 19th, Holly Mo Party at Beach Bend Raceway in Bowling Green, Kentucky, moparty.com for more information. September 30th through October 4th, the Chrysler 300 International Fall Season Meet. Hosting member is Rob Kern. It will be in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, October 1st through the 4th. The National Imperial Centennial Celebration at Daisy, Tennessee, held in conjunction with the annual Tennessee Valley Region Chrysler Club Apple Tour and Meet. It's in Daisy, Tennessee, which is near Chattanooga. And go to the Imperial Owners Club International Facebook page for more information. This convention is open to all Mopars with Mopar power. You don't just have to have an Imperial to go to this show. But it'd be great if you did. Beautiful cars they were through the years. After all, this is their 100-year anniversary. Hope you show up. Robert Soul will treat you right. Now, the other one I got to get to, and I got down here on the list I should have done, this is actually a national show in Canada. And let me get down here to Ontario, so we'll get that done. It is the Mopar Fest, which is Canada's largest all-Mopar car show. It will be held in New Hamburg, Ontario, Canada, at 251 Jacob Street. It's August 15th and 16th. Go to moparfest.com for more information. That's a nationwide show for the great folks up in Canada. They'd love to see you. And now let's go to the States and see what we have, or all the different areas, and see who else is putting on a show. In the great state of Alabama, August 1st, the 28th annual Mopars on the Mountain. at Mount Bobo State Park in Huntsville, Alabama. For more information, it's the Tennessee Valley Mopar Club. That's the hosting club at tvmoparclub.com. You can get in touch with Bob at 256-655-3644 or Tony at 256-698-7811. In Alberta, Canada, July 25th, it's Western Canada's largest Mopar show, the Western Mopar Madness at RAD Torque Raceway in Leduc County, Alberta, Canada. The hosting club is Edmonton Mopar Association. Go to the website EMAWMM.com. August 8th, it's the 32nd annual August Heat 26. This is how they worded it. But it will be held at the Red Deer Polytechnic in the West parking lot. The hosting club for this, the Central Alberta Mopar Association. This is their website. It's central-alberta-mopar-association.square.site. That's central-alberta-mopar-association.square.site or site. British Columbia in Canada, July 23rd through the 26th. It's the Walter P. Chrysler Northwest Regional Meet in Victoria, British Columbia. The great state of California, July 19th, August 23rd, and September 20th will be Mopar's Coffee and Coffee. It will be held on the southeast side of Macy's parking lot in Cottingtown, California. Hosting club is the Sonoma County Mopars and NorCal Mopars. September 26th, the 34th annual fall finale at the Sierra Bicentennial Park in Clovis, California. Hosting club is the San Joaquin Valley Mopar Club. It's SanJoaquinValleyMopars.com. That's SanJoaquin ValleyMopars.com. October 3rd, it's Mopar Day in the Park at Hagen Community Park, Rancho Cordova, California. Hosting club is the Capital City Mopars. And to round out the year so far in California, what I have so far, it's the annual Fall Fling and All Mopar Show and Parts Exchange at Woodley Park in Van Nuys, California. Hosting clubs is the Southern California Mopar Car Club and the Chrysler Performance West Club. Information, go to cpwclub.com. In September 26th, in the great state of Connecticut, it's the 18th annual Innovators Show and Shine All Mopar Show and Swap Meet. This will be at Artioli Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Enfield, Connecticut. Hosting club, they do a lot of activities for Mopars. Mopars in Motion. Contact Ralph Barbagello at 860-416-1228 or go to moparinmotion.com. The great state of Florida. It's Mopars with Big Daddy, November 7th and 8th at Garlett's Drag Racing Museum in Ocala, Florida. Phone number 352-245-8661 or go to garletts.com. In the great state of Illinois, it's the weekend of July 18th, July 19th. Those 2 days, the 18th is the Midwest Charger Meet. The 19th, the Mopar Modern Muscle Meet. And on the 18th and 19th, both, it's all considered the Belvedere Mopar Happening. This will occur at the Boone County Fairgrounds in Belvedere, Illinois. The hosting club, and these people do a lot of great work, the Chicagoland Mopar Club. Lots of contacts here for the Charger Show. Contact Scott. Email him at sssp@sbcglobal.net or phone him at 708-254-0237. For the other events that are going on, contact Roger at cmcrvc@comcast.net or Diane, phone her at 815-262-2096, chicagolandmopar.com, or find them on Facebook. September 6th, it's the 618 Mopar Meet at the Lake in North Markham Beach, Benton, Illinois. Hosting club is the 618 Mopar Club. Go to their Facebook page for more information or their website. It's https://618mopar.vercel.app. That's 618mopar.vercel.app. In the great state of Iowa, it's the first annual. I think it's going to be just a drag race for now, but I'm sure they'd like to turn it into a show as well. So I hope you give it a good support. It's the first annual Mopar Madness at Onawa Dragway, or Onawa Dragway, Onawa. My apologies if I screwed that up. That's in Onawa, Iowa. Or you can go to onawadragway.com for more information. It's their first annual Mopar Madness show. August 15th and 16th, it's Mopar Max 2026. New location this year at Tri-State Dragway in Earlville, Iowa. Hosting club is the North Iowa Mopars. Check them out on Facebook for more information. August 22nd, it's the Chicagoland Mopars at it again with the 30th annual Mopars on the Mississippi Car Show and Swap Meet. Will be held at the Dubuque County Fairgrounds in Dubuque, Iowa. The hosting club, once again, is Chicagoland Mopar Connection. This time around, for outdoor swap meet information, contact Ron Barton at 563-580-0179. For indoor swap meet information, contact Cheryl Callahan at 563-582-3832. General contact on everything else, contact Rick Campbell at RICKATHY1953 at gmail.com or phone them at 815-930-1776. You can also go to chicagolandmopar.com or check out their Facebook page. In the great state of Kentucky, October 2nd through the 4th, it's Mopar Drag Fest at London Dragway in London, Kentucky. You can contact Craig Boone at 606-231-3446 or Bob Rogers at 859-338-6850. Manitoba, Canada, August 31st, Labor Day weekend in both Canada and the U.S., but Labor Day weekend up in Manitoba as well. It's the Gauthiers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram annual show. That's GUATHIERS on Regent Avenue in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I don't have any other information. I called the dealership. They said they were having it. Please give them a call if you have any questions about when the show is going to happen. The lady who I talked to was very nice, so make sure you give Gauthier's Chrysler Dodge Jeep a call in Regent Avenue in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. The great state of Maryland, home of Motor Week, October 16th through 17th. It's the Mopar Eastern Classic and King of Street Heads Up Mopar Racing at Maryland International Raceway, Mechanicsville, Maryland. Part of the Modern Street Hemi Shootout Weekend. Go race, MIR.com for more information. In the great state of Michigan, July 25th, Mopars at the Red Barn, Gilmore Car Coliseum, Hickory Corners, Michigan. For more information, go to the website, GilmoreCarMuseum.org. That's GILMORE, carmuseum.org. September 29th, the 15th annual Michigan Mopar Muscle Club All Mopar Car Show and Swap Meet. This will be held at the Hub Stadium, Auburn Hills, Michigan. Hosting club will be the Michigan Mopar Muscle Car Club. Go to MichiganMoparMuscle.com or email them showinfo@MichiganMoparMuscle.com. The great state of Mississippi, October 8th, Mopars in DeBay at Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. Phone 504-512-0367. And for more information, you can go to BigEasyMopar.org. The hosting club, and they're very active themselves too, Big Easy Mopar Association. You heard their website, and that's how you can find them on Facebook as well as Big Easy Mopar. In the great state of Missouri, now this is technically in Illinois, east suburbs of St. Louis. I put it under Missouri. October 17th and 18th, it's an annual St. Louis Mopar Blast. which will be held at Worldwide Technology Raceway in Madison, Illinois. Hosted by Mopar Blast Incorporated, a registered 501c3 nonprofit. You can go to stlouismoparblast.com. The great state of Nebraska, July 10th. It's the 11th annual Crazy Days Open House. Now, this used to be a car show at the Plum Crazy Restorations. What's happens is it's changed to an open house because where they used to park the cars for their own car show, there's now a building there right next door to them. But there is a car show going on across the street from Plum Crazy Restorations. You can go there, have fun, park your car at the show, walk on over, say hello to the great people at Plum Crazy Restorations, and still have a great Mopar time there. That is in Fremont, Nebraska. Information, you can dial 402-630-4672. The next event in Nebraska is July 19th. It's the 4th annual H&H Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram All Mopar Show at H&H Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram in Papillion, Nebraska. Go to their Facebook and Instagram pages for more information, or go to hhjeepdodgeram.com. September 12th, the 20th annual Mopar Mega Meet, All Mopar Car Show and Swap Meet at Papillion La Vista South High School Stadium in Papillion, Nebraska. Contact Dan, 402-740-1054, or you can go to their website, highimpactperformance.org, and the rain date for that will be October 3rd. In the great state of New York, August 9th, the 16th annual Western New York Mopar's Mopar Day All Mopar Gathering and Drag Racing. This will be held at the Lancaster Motorplex, Lancaster, New York. Hosting club, Western New York Mopars. October 11th, it's Mopars at the Valley Car Show and Swap Meet at Lebanon Valley Dragway in East Chatham, New York. The hosting club there will be the Capital Area Mopars, or go to dragway.com for more information. The great state of North Carolina, August 15th, it's the 29th annual Carolina Region Plymouth Owners Club All Mopar Show, which will be held at the North Carolina Transportation Museum in Spencer, North Carolina. Contact Dean Yates at 704-223-1195 for more information. The last day of October, Fall Mopars at the Rock at Rockingham Dragway in Rockingham, North Carolina. Go to rockinghamdragway.com for more information. Up in Canada, Nova Scotia, August 16th, it's the Dartmouth Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Mopar Show at Dartmouth Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Rain date will be August 24th. You can call Gary at 902-449-4321. The hosting club, the longtime Facebook posters, the Mopar Maritime Club. And in Ohio, it's their final event for the year so far, September 17th through the 20th. It is the 4th annual Ken Galley Mopar Mania presented by Stanford Trailers at Summit Motorsports Park at Norwalk, Ohio. SummitMotorsportsPark.com for more information. Now, the annual show that's been held for years at York Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Toledo, put on by the Classic Chrysler Car Club of Toledo, will not be held this year. I put a post on Facebook and all the other social media. I know I did Facebook for sure, but please, the show is canceled due to issues with the car club, and they are working on this, but the show will not be held this year. They will see what's going on to see if they can do it next year. If you know any of the members, please get in touch with them and see if you can offer them some help for next year's show. It'd be a great help. They thoroughly loved Jim York Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on the Central Avenue Strip in Toledo. Great people there. They say they've done a lot for the club to help out with the show. Very generous people. They'd love to have it next year. Let's hope they can. But for this year, there's no show in Toledo in September. I hate to see that happen, but it does. And hopefully they'll get it back next year. I talked with someone from the club. Very nice people to talk to. I hope they can get some help, get it back, and get the club going, get the car show going for next year, whatever it takes. It was a great event. I've never been there, but I've heard it's a great event. Brings Mopars together from Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. So the Classic Chrysler Car Club of Toledo Car Show at Jim Yark Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on the Central Avenue Strip in Toledo is not going to happen this year. In the great state of Oklahoma, November 7th, it's the 21st annual Mopars at the Park Car Show, drag racing and swap meet at Tulsa Raceway Park, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Phone 918-645-9078. You can talk to Lexi there. You can email her at Lexi, that's Lexief, at Valornet, VALORNET.com, or Facebook.com/LexiFowl, that's LEXIEFOWLE. In the great province of Ontario, Canada, August 15th and 16th, again, we mentioned Mopar Fest, Canada's largest all-Mopar show. That will be in New Hamburg, Ontario, moparfest.com for more information. On September 20th, the 4th annual Motor City Mopar Show will be held at Motor City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Hosting club will be the Windsor Area Mopar Muscle Club. For more details, you can go to their page, search WAAMM on Facebook under events for more information. In the great state of Oregon, July 12th, the 41st annual Woodburn Drag Strip Mopar Nationals at Woodburn Drag Strip in Woodburn, Oregon. You can go to woodburndragstrip.com for more information. Now, this is a statewide event. They call it the Mopar Nationals. They have every right to. But, yeah, don't confuse this with the one that's going on in Ohio later on, which I said earlier this year under the Nationals events. And you can also phone them as well, 541-746-4620. In the great state of Pennsylvania, July 11th, the Penn Harris Party, Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. Hosting club, again, Mopars in Motion. Contact Ralph Barbagello at 860-416-1228 or moparinmotion.com. That's right, no S in that. Even though it says Mopars in Motion for the club, it's moparinmotion.com. In the great province of Saskatchewan, Canada, August 9th is Mopar Mania at YXE Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I say that in tribute to Stephanie Langenegger. And people in Saskatoon or Saskatchewan know who she is. Contact email skmoparclub@gmail.com, or there's two phone numbers to call, 306-280-2718 or 306-881-0791. Hoping Stephanie's doing well. Prayers to Stephanie and her dad. Hosting club is the Saskatchewan Mopar Club. South Carolina. This is a huge event. Lots of activities going on for this one. It's Mopar Fever, October 21st through 26th in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Go to 8F3Mopars.org or look for that 8F03 Mopars and search for that on Facebook. They have all kinds of flyer copies there, have the list of activities of what's going on for the great weekend that they have there. Michael does a great job, and hope it's another great turnout like it has been last year. In the great state of Tennessee, September 26th, it's the 37th annual Music City Mopar Club Show. This will be held at the Wilson County Fairgrounds, Lebanon, Tennessee. Hosting club is the Music City Mopar Club. You can reach them by phone, 615-972-1056, or musiccitymoparclub.com. In the great state of Texas, October 24th, it's the 42nd annual San Antonio Mopar Show at Biff Busby's Burgers in Live Oak, Texas. Hosting clubs is the San Antonio Mopar Club. More information, go to moparmuscleclub-sa.org. The great state of Virginia, September 5th, it's Mopars in the Valley, which will be held at the Salem Civic Center in Salem, Virginia. Rain date will be September 6th. This is hosted by the Roanoke Valley Mopar Club. And search Mopars in the Valley by Roanoke Valley Mopar Club on Facebook. When you go to the Roanoke Valley Facebook page, it says they're planning on canceling it, although there's a flyer there for that. Their new Facebook page is search for Mopars in the Valley by Roanoke Valley Mopar Club on Facebook. So please, let me say that again. Mopars in the Valley by Roanoke Valley Mopar Club. Search for them on Facebook under that. The great state of Washington, July 26th, it's the 20th annual Mopar Magic All Mopar Car and Shine at Peninsula High School at Gig Harbor, Washington. You can go to allaroundmopars.com for more information. And boy, Wisconsin, it's holding big too. Let me see. August 14th, it's the Summer Car Show at City Dodge, Brookfield, Wisconsin. The hosting club this time is the Wisconsin Mopar Muscle Club. You can email them at wmmcmopar@gmail.com or search Wisconsin Mopars on Facebook or their website, wmmc.net. September 20th. Another event by the Wisconsin Mopar Muscle Club. It's the Mopar Swap Meet at Fox View Lanes in Waukesha, Washington. Again, the same information as before. wmmcmopar@gmail.com for their email. Search Wisconsin Mopars on Facebook or their website, wmmc.net. And this show was a huge event, a huge success last year. Let's hope it is again this year. It was their first time last year. They're doing it again, the second annual Mopar Showdown at Rock Falls Raceway, Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Go to moparshowdown.com. Any information you need, you can email them, info@moparshowdown.com. Phone number 715-600-2326. The hosting club is the Midwest Mopars. Again, this was a huge success last year. Let's hope it is this year. There are still some shows I got to find out. Hopefully I can get another episode in before then. I got to talk with someone about the Lone Star Mopar Fest weekend. I got to talk about that. I think that has a location change, but I got to make double sure on that. But I have that, and I got to see if Speed's New Hope Dragway in Indiana will have their show again. I haven't been able to get in touch with him. But we'll find out. We'll get it all together. And pretty soon you'll be seeing these on moparinsiders.com. As well, again, as if you are a member of the Walter P. Chrysler Club, you will see the newsletter that they get or the magazine. They have a listing of these club shows as well. They do it per month, within the period of the magazine. They don't do the whole list like I do, but they'll put that in as the months go by as they make out new editions. Again, thank you so much for joining me here on the Walpar Podcast. I really do appreciate it very much that you've been here, and hope to see you again soon. And thanks again for listening. Again, the Walpar Podcast is a production of Auto Catawba LLC. And thank you so much, and we'll talk to you later. Again, uniting all generations and types of Mopar fans, lovers, and enthusiasts everywhere. This is the Walpar Podcast. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.